with Geniene from Life is a Beach, and today I'm at Blackbrick Hotel and the club, which is across the road, and I'm with CEO Mark Morris. How are you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Good,
thanks for having me.
Oh no, it's such a pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm staying over tonight.
Nice.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
So,
How was your stay?
Well, I'm only staying over tonight, so I'll tell
you checked in today?
Yes.
Good, welcome.
But I'll certainly tell you later.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I found was quite exciting was at the front desk when I came in very early this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she said, you can't check in now, you can only check in the earliest at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, hang on a second, normally it's 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
That is such a cool way to turn the industry up on its nose.
Yeah.
Because if you think about flights, flights arrive from overseas at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, traditionally. Now the guy's here. Now, what does he do with himself until
Absolutely.
2 o'clock?
Yeah.
So well done for that.
Thanks.
For figuring that out.
If you come earlier, you can put your luggage actually into the luggage room and then enjoy the various facilities in the building, because there's a lot to explore in these across the road as well as in this building. So.
Well, tell me a little bit about Blackbrick. It's where it comes from. Obviously, you're the co-founder or the founder. Is it the founder?
Co-founder, yes.
Co-founder.
There's two of us. Yeah. No, look, I've been an entrepreneur since I was out of school. I used to sell shorts out of the boot of my car at university to make some extra money. And I had a series of businesses throughout the years. And then what I always found is, I came from a family of, my mom's a teacher, my dad's a doctor. And so there was no like business culture at the home, at the dinner table. So I was, I struggled for many years to find a groove as an entrepreneur, to find funding for the various things I was doing within a network.
And I'm sure you were told best to go work for a bank.
I was told, get a degree, become a lawyer. I studied law, I never did that. I just couldn't do it. It wasn't in my blood. I always had to just be, independent and live freely, so. I tried and I failed a lot over the years because I didn't have a support infrastructure. I had friends that had families from business, so I tried to learn from them, but it's tough, as an entrepreneur if you don't have a tribe, if you don't have a network. So that kind of sparked some frustration in me over 12 years. Just break out and just be an entrepreneur, be what I felt that I truly was, and it was super difficult to do that because I didn't have a network, I didn't have funding, I didn't have a business or entrepreneurial education from my family. So that kind of sparked an idea over 12 years or 10 years of really born from frustration that I wanted to create an environment where other creators, other entrepreneurs could be, could have an environment that fostered some form of effectiveness. So basically you're in an environment where you live, you work, you collaborate, and you're in complete flow. Because that's the problem as an entrepreneur. If you are truly dedicated to your task, all you want to be doing is that one thing. You don't want to be doing silly things like laundry and your dishes and tidying up after yourself and your part. You don't want to think about anything except for your craft. And so at Blackbrick, what we try to do, there's really like a macro and a micro view. The micro view is the individual building, and the macro view is the network of buildings, connecting all the buildings. So on the micro view, the environment that we try to create is one where you're able to be in complete flow. And it's not just for entrepreneurs, it's for creatives, it's even for people that are just in a corporate job that want to be excellent at what they do. So a lot of people that come to us and are guests or that are residents that live here permanently, they come in at a certain level, wherever they are, and then the idea is that they become something greater in their mind, whatever that may be. It might be just seeking happiness, it might be honing, a musical instrument, it might be becoming a writer, it might be being excellent at being a lawyer. There's nothing wrong with being a lawyer, but it's about excellence. So we try to create an environment where that is supported by having dedicated workspaces. You've got meeting spaces, you've got social spaces, collaborative spaces, restaurants. So you can live a day of complete, I would say, flow is the best way to put it. So you can focus on what you're doing, you can eat a healthy meal, you can go to the gym, you can have a social element incorporated into your life. So that really was the mission, and it resulted in the first Blackbrick in Sandton across the road from us, with 208 hotel apartments. So we purchased the old SAB.
It's more like an apartment hotel.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a key distinction. Is we're not actually a hotel. We're an apartment building that you can stay at various lengths of stay, starting from a day all the way through to a year or more. So it's completely dynamic, and the trick is every apartment has a kitchen, every apartment has a lounge component. So you really are living inside of an apartment, even if you're just coming to visit for a day.
I think one of the nice things is you don't come from a hospitality background.
Yeah.
If you look at most of our hotels or guest lodges, game lodges, even in this country or we are overseas, the GM, the owner, the CEO, they always have a very big hospitality background. So they're very quick to sort of say, I have 250 years in hospitality. My team and I together have that. But having not come from one, you have such different ideas that turns the whole hospitality thing on its head, which I think is fabulous. Because tradition isn't working in today's world. Post-COVID, we're facing so many different challenges that we faced beforehand. And that's why a lot of hospitality didn't make it.
Completely.
Because they weren't prepared to kind of make that change and say, okay, this has happened. How do we change our model to stay alive?
Yeah.
They just closed.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I think so. We operate on something called first principles. So we try and look at a problem from the ground up. We don't try and reason by analogy and say, well, this is how the industry does it, and let's try and emulate that. We say, well, okay, forget about what everything else is, and let's actually try and solve a problem by starting from zero and then building it up. So for us, I call it scratching our own itch. It was a thing that we wanted for ourselves, and so we just tried to create that as best as possible, as closely as possible to that vision. And it seemed to have struck a nerve, and other people find it interesting or find it helpful to them. If you have a challenge or something that you want to solve in the world, and you go ahead and you try and solve it, there might be others that also find it good for them. So,
and you're struck already by the difference when you arrive. You don't have all the golden globe trolleys. What do they call those? Golden globe trolleys?
Yeah, the luggage trolleys.
There isn't that bustle in the front with this very busy concierge. You also have Mac computers as you walk in, and that's always for us Mac users. That was just such a delight. It's like, oh yes, they were putting those in. Let me just move over. Let me have a look at your screen. So very much being able in your workspaces, obviously like the one we're in, just giving people that ability to also be private by being in your own little room, but also giving them the ability to be in a library type environment where there are other people to socialize. Because humans are social animals.
No, completely. We still live in a physical reality as much as we want to be virtual. I mean, we're sitting in what we call a virtual pod. Okay, so this came out of a COVID reality where people were constantly on virtual meetings. And the problem with our current workspaces at the time was that you were in an open environment. So you're on a Zoom call, this guy's on a Zoom call, and there's just a mess, and it's very confusing, and there's private information that needs to be exchanged. So these 10 work pods, like the one we're sitting in here, are designed for that. You sit there for an hour, have your meeting in silence, and no one else can hear your business, and they can focus in the center of the island here, which is the co-working space, on collaborative work.
I just noticed that because I work alone at home, I have my dogs for company, I have the donkeys at the back because we rescue animals.
Oh, cool.
So it's a lot of noise. It's not anything to do with traffic. It's all to do with animals.
Yes.
But often my isolation gets too much for me. And I need to go somewhere just to so I go to the Spur or I go to the Wimpy and I go sit there just to have coffee.
Yeah.
And my husband always says, but you have coffee, and this is not the same. When I'm sitting there, I'm so focused. I can get through 2 hours of work, which is actually a whole day's work, in 2 hours because I'm focused, but I've got buzz.
Yes.
I've got that kind of, and I can't explain it. It's just sometimes
you can't deny that the human needs other humans to really be at an optimal level. it becomes so obvious in the stark contrast of COVID, where we were all isolated and we all became depressed on some level. Then we came back and we were like, oh my God, this is a human connection. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, as much as we're going tech and digital, and we're big proponents of tech. We're all very interested in efficiencies, and we're all very, very interested in making, reducing cost structures through technology and all of that. We've got an app. We've got cool things happening there. But at the end of the day, we're physical. We need other humans to be. So these spaces, also with respect to needing time alone, give you alternatives or give you options, whatever that particular activity is that you need to do. Whether you need to be alone, then there's an alone space. If you need to be in a meditative space, there's a meditation garden. If you need to be in a collaborative space that is serious, then there's a meeting room. If you need to be in a collaborative space that is fun, you can be in the conversation room. So we've learned that there's so many different, in an entire day, there's so many different scenarios of activity as productive people, that you need spaces that enable that. It can't just be one space for all. You have to actually change the environment in order to change the mind and change
I think
the
one of the nice things is, Melrose Arch is like this community that locked themselves in. So they kind of said, oh, well, we have a similar idea to what you have. Let's go to German coffee and all that, but let's kind of interbreed. So we don't ever see what goes on in the rest of the world, because the rest of the world doesn't exist, because we only have Melrose Arch. They tried the same in Danefern. And the problem with locking people into an area is people get very bored with each other. They need to go out of that area. So like in Danefern, the children were using steaming golf carts and driving them into the walls, and then they couldn't understand because they had a perfect life. And I'm going, guys, you know what? It's not about the perfect life, it's about how you integrate your life really with others. And with Blackbrick, it's really nice because it's only your living space and your working space, but when you walk out the door, you walk into the rest of the world.
Yes.
Yeah. You haven't like blocked off Sandton and said, okay guys, how walls...
Now it's only this. And the beauty about this is that you've got new people coming in every day, because half of it is operating on a short-term basis. That means there's new faces all the time. It makes for interesting challenges.
And you've also recognized
there's
a world of other people. It doesn't only happen in this little pod.
And that brings me to the micro and the macro again. So the micro being the building itself, one building.
Correct.
And then the macro being the network of buildings. So now what I haven't said is that what we're trying to solve in the world is to allow people to move freely between cities. Seamlessly. So you're able to live in one place for 3 months, then move your entire life without having to carry all your bags and all your entire container into another city and live there for 2 weeks, 1 day, 5 years. You can just move around completely seamlessly, because the truth is that we're becoming a lot more mobile. It's becoming possible, but the physical infrastructure doesn't support you. The reason why travel is so exhausting is because you're lugging your entire life around, and you're not given a consistent experience where you are. Every one of our properties is uniquely designed, but it's got the same ingredients, it's got the same elements. So when you're walking into a Blackbrick, there's going to be a workspace for you, there's going to be healthy eating for you, there's going to be a personal trainer, there's going to be accounting services on site for you if you need them, there's going to be all these things that enable you to do these things, and it's consistent. But we're very cautious, very conscious that every building has to be a unique design, because you have to also experience different things in different neighborhoods. You can't just, some hotel groups feel a little bit repetitive, and this is what frustrates me about travel, is that even if you have that consistency element, you do get a bit bored with the design or with the environment. I want to go to Barcelona and experience a building by the same brand, but in a completely different way that is in line with Barcelona, with its environment, not something that was designed in an office in wherever and then plugged and play. But I do want to know that I have, all of these facilities available to me, and that there's consistency in my life, because that's important in terms of routine, in terms of, the bodily functions, your sleep and everything. You have to have consistency.
It's quite interesting how the hotels have a successful hotel in X place in Durban. And then they think, okay, you know what, we can replicate this around the country. Let's just go around and build exactly the same building and then run exactly the same thing. And you think, no, I don't think so. I want to experience something different because I'm in a different city.
Absolutely.
So if I'm in Johannesburg, there's a different vibe somewhere. I want to be able to love the vibe, maybe have the same hotel, but not exactly the same dress though.
Exactly. I mean, it does make for difficult challenges, you know, within the operations.
Operation itself,
you know, because the building structure might be different in each one of them, but it creates its own character. If you walk into Sandton, I've often been told, Sandton 1, Sandton 2, maybe 30 meters away from each other, but feel completely different. Not one is better than the other, but they're just completely different. You go to Foreshore in Cape Town, the physical makeup is different, but the vibe it's got its own life, you know. So it makes it like a game, you know, for our members to move around. So they go from one place to another, and they don't know what to expect, but it's you know they drop in and it's quite exciting.
What is your current building? What is your current collection, and where are you going from here?
In terms of the pipeline?
Yes.
So we've got 3 operational now since 2020. So it's been 3 in 3 years, which has been a nice growth curve.
So it's Cape Town, Sandton 1 and Sandton 2.
Yes, and then we're opening Bedford View very close to the airport at the end of the year.
Okay.
And then we've got another 7 planned in the pipeline in various stages of
That's
development.
awesome.
Yeah, no, it's been cool. I think it's on the back of the first one that was a successful sales launch. It created quite a lot of momentum for the rest of the pipeline. And now that we've opened this second location, and we have conferencing facilities, it's attracting the hospitality industry even from Africa. We've got Meetings Africa this week, and we're hosting a lot of people from various African countries.
That's awesome.
And the response has been quite encouraging because we desperately want to break into Africa, and they're coming to us and they're saying, we need this in our country. And it's so it's so encouraging, and I'm so excited to branch out into the African countries. We'd like to have 20 in South Africa and 20 in Africa, and then grow out into the rest of the world.
Well, I certainly wish you all the best.
Thank you.
I think you're on the right track. I think having taken the old and the new and married it into an age group, because what you're doing is ageless. Because entrepreneurs come from all walks of life, from all ages. And I think I'm older, I'm 62, but I'm very tech orientated.
Yeah.
So I love my tech. And where I go somewhere, I want to be able to use my tech. And I want to be able to use it in a way that integrates with humans. Because like my husband has no idea and no clue about tech. He wants just experience stuff. But if I brought him in here to a workspace, he can bring out his laptop, slog through his spreadsheets, while I just go around and film and video and have the greatest of fun.
That's good.
So it integrates us both really well. So tell me, Mark, where do we find you? How do people find you?
I'm not really on any socials, but
your hotels, how do they book the hotels?
So they can go onto blackbrickclub.com.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the business is on socials. So it's blackbrick_club. That can be found on Instagram, and then same thing for Facebook.
That's wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you in the Foreshore, because you've got a hotel now in the Foreshore, and I want to come and see it. So I'm there for World Travel Market.
Great.
So I'd love to come and see it.
Can't wait to see you.
Since I've been here so often, I keep bringing all my mates here, and all the guys in the hospitality industry to say, look at what you can learn. It doesn't have to have a painted wall. We can have a concrete wall.
Absolutely.
So the video and the pictures will show the artistry behind the building as well.
Looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, Mark, thank you so much. I'm Geniene Preston of Life is a Beach.